So I've always sensed that there was a lot of trepidation about yoga and having to do yoga at this meeting or any other time. And so why don't we begin with a definition of yoga? So in the ancient text of Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, it is stated, yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. Now there's nothing in there about stretching or even relaxing. And I just want to, can everyone hear me? Because I had a comment that the sound wasn't any good. Okay, good. Now the 8 limbs or components of yoga include codes of conduct, sort of like the 10 commandments, but there's 5 commandments, non-stealing, non-violence, etc. Ways how you live your life in relation to yourself. And then the asanas or the postures. That's probably the part of yoga that's been most adopted by our popular culture. The pranayama or the breathing techniques, and then the progressive stages of meditation. It can be a way of life, or we can just choose out of its many tools and techniques. We can pick and choose those to relieve our pain and our stress in our bodies and minds as we can fit it in our lives. So you can do an hour a day, or you can do 3 minutes a day, not every day. It's totally up to you. So let's just take a moment to assess where we are right now. So are you even home in your body? Let's get comfortable sitting in your chair. It's better if you're not against the back of the chair. Sit a little more, lifted spine away from the back of the chair, your feet on the floor and your legs uncrossed, and just see if you can just sort of lift your spine up so you're not slumped over. And just notice, just for a moment, your feet on the floor, your sit bones on the chair, your hands on your lap, and now where you feel the breath in your body. Do you feel your breath in your body? Without changing anything, just observe the quality of the breath. Is it even? Is it choppy? Which comes more easily, the inhalation or the exhalation? Which is longer, the inhalation or the exhalation? So we just want to see what our baseline is so that we can compare later when we're done with our little practice. And so at this point, I want to make a point about a pet peeve of mine. It seems that everywhere, whether it's in a health magazine, article, or advice from physical therapists that people relay to me when they come see me, or even yoga teachers will say, push your stomach out on the inhalation. And physiologically, inhalation happens when your diaphragm, which is a big, like palm-shaped, palm fan-shaped muscle, will contract and descend into the abdominal cavity. So above the diaphragm is your lungs and heart, and below the diaphragm are all your abdominal organs. So when the diaphragm descends, then it kind of passively displaces your organs forward, but you're not pushing. That's a totally different set of muscles. When you exhale, that's a passive movement. The diaphragm comes back to its resting place. And then if you want to empty your lungs further, then you will actually use your stomach muscles. And that's that navel toward the spine action that we'll do when we really get all the air, we never can get all the air out of our lungs, but we're trying to exhale as deeply as we can. So let's place your hands on the bottom of your rib cage. So the thumb and like index finger are like on the ribs, and then the pinky and ring fingers are in the upper belly. And just relax your shoulders. And just take a moderately full breath and see what you feel. So the inhalation, physiologically, the ribs will expand. And then they'll go back. So I like to speak and teach in more metaphorical terms. So imagine that your torso is like a wine barrel shaped balloon, okay? And you're going to be, when you're breathing, you're going to be inhaling, you're going to be expanding in all directions. You're going to be going side to side. You're going to be going front to back, And you're going to not be just going up, but you're also going to be going down toward the pelvic floor. So you're going to be touching all the surfaces of that wine barrel. So let's just try that right now. Let's first breathe in and focus on the side to side. So inhale, imagine you're expanding like an accordion. I play accordion, so imagine expanding and then releasing back to center. Okay, and then the next breath, let's expand, see if you can expand more forward. And also, it's hard to do it back unless you're lying on your stomach, and then you really can feel the back expansion. But just try to expand forward and then release back. And then see if you can expand up into the chest and then down toward the pelvic floor at the same time. And then back to center. So, and when we break out in breakouts, we can talk about whether that worked for you at all, or what was easier, or what was completely incomprehensible or inscrutable. But what does this have to do with stress and pain? So, diaphragmatic breath helps balance the autonomic nervous system away from the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, and back to the parasympathetic, which is the relax and renew, rest and digest. And chest breathing, shallow chest breathing, keeps us in that fight or flight mode, which is where tension and anxiety are dwelling. The speed of our breathing is also really important. So let's see where we are. I'm going to put my timer on, and we're going to count our breaths for 15 seconds, and then we're going to multiply by 4. So don't change anything. Don't try to breathe slow or fast. Just go ahead and start breathing and just count your breath. Just breathe normally. Breathe normally for you. Okay, stop and multiply by 4. And you don't even have to tell anyone what your answer was. But, AMA medicine says that normal vital signs, a respiratory rate of 14 to 16 is normal. And I'm here to tell you that anything above 8 breaths a minute, which is basically 3 seconds in and 4 seconds out, is not putting you into that parasympathetic rest and renew area. If you can slow your breath below 8 breaths a minute, you are going to help relax your nervous system and put yourself more into the parasympathetic mode. Now, it's not like sympathetic is bad and parasympathetic is good. I mean, you have to have a balance of both, but most of us are living in our whole world, especially now, today, one day after election day, we are probably all living much more in the sympathetic mode. So we want to try to emphasize more of the parasympathetic as much as we can. The other thing you can do to relax your nervous system and your body and mind is to breathe longer on the exhalation. Exhale longer in relation to the inhalation. So to sum up, the 3 ways to de-stress with your breath are to make sure you're breathing diaphragmatically, make sure that you're trying to breathe a little slower. And that doesn't necessarily mean deeper, just slower, longer breaths. And the third thing is to lengthen the exhalation in relation to your inhalation. You'll often hear that you should exhale twice as long as you inhale. But that, to me, just puts another stress, like, oh my God, I've got to do it exactly twice as long. Just lengthen it a little bit or more.